Welcome back to Land House. I am in the middle of building my French cleat wall storage system, and I have a really great set of sockets and wrenches. It's a Husky brand, I believe, but they're really difficult to get out of the box. I have to grab a screwdriver and pry out the socket that I need to use, and it's just super inconvenient. So today I'm going to be making a socket set French cleat shelf. It's going to be a bit extensive, and hopefully it works out. So let's jump into it and get started. I have a scrap piece of 3/4 inch plywood that's 31 inches, and I've marked out an 8-inch piece here. And I just want to rip that down with my saw. Now that I have the board cut, I've got lots of things to do here. I have 19 tall 3/8 sockets. I've got 47 small 3/8 sockets, 33 1/2-inch sockets, 7 metric wrenches, 7 standard wrenches, and 2 socket wrenches, and then all the extensions. So there's a lot of work to do here. What I'm going to do is use a dowel for the 3/8 sockets. Okay, now that I have this board cut, my first thought was to clump together the small sockets and the big sockets, but I was thinking, you know, it'd be nice to have all of them stretched out so I can have the sizes as I go along. So if I know I need a certain size, it's going to be on one side or the other. So instead of the clumps, I'm going to just do straight across. So first of all, what I want to do is make a mark here at 1.5 inch out. Do that down here. And then I'm going to use a straight edge to just make that line across there. And that's where the first row is going to be. So I need to have 47 of the small sockets. I'm not going to be able to fit all of those on here, I don't believe, in one single row. So I'm going to come back and do a few more over here. I'm definitely just kind of designing this as I go, but I have made 1, 2, 3, 4 lines all the way across. And the back side over here, I'm going to use the last 3 inches for the wrench and extension holders. So what I think I'm going to do is every 1.5 inches along this line, I am just going to make a mark, and that's going to be the indication for where the hole is going to be. So I'm just going to come along here and start making some marks. Well, that was annoying, but I think I have drawn out all the holes that I need for all of the pegs. So let's hop over here to the drill press and get some dowel holes put in, and then we'll come back later and consider where to put the holes for the actual socket wrenches. I have a 5/16 bit here on my drill press. I'm going to line up where I want this first hole, and I'm going to just do a test run to make sure my dowel fits. Okay, here's my 5/16 dowel, and seems to be a really great fit for whenever there's glue in there. So now my task is to just go along this board on the small sockets and cut lots and lots of little holes. And then for the bigger sockets, because they are bigger, I have moved up to a 3/8 inch dowel here. And so I'm going to move up my drill bit as well and use this for all of the larger sockets. Now moving on to the 3/8, and I realized something about halfway through on the other drill, that why don't I just set the depth gauge up here so that it will stop about 3/4 through the board. So that way I'm not using all that dowel, and it's still going to be enough to get that done. So anyway, I've done the same here with my 3/8 bit. It just goes down about 3/4 of the way. And I'm just going to continue to drill these out. This socket set also comes with a set of Allen wrenches and screwdrivers that hook up to a socket set. It's kind of a specialty item, but I thought I would just drill some holes back here to just insert all of those for convenience. Almost done making holes. I have extensions and the actual wrench to make holes for here. For the extensions, I'm going to use a 15mm Forstner bit, and then I've got a 17mm for this wrench. So go ahead and put those holes in here now. Well, that took a long time, but I think I have everything prepared. Now this is going to be the back over here against the wall. So the tall sockets there, all the small ones here in the front, and then on this side is going to be the big ones. And then those specialty items are back here on the back. And then the extension and wrenches will be over here. So I believe what I'm going to do now is go ahead and get the cleat installed here. And I'm going to use 6 2-inch screws with wood glue. And that should be enough to really get this thing on here nice and secure. So I'm going to go ahead and put some pre-drill holes here in the cleat. Let's make sure we're doing this right here. So this would be, I'm going to go ahead and flip this upside down so that I can think it's going to be like this. And I'm going to be installing some triangular pieces here in a moment, so I'm actually going to move this down about here because I'm going to have that triangular piece here, and I don't want it to interfere with the other sockets there. So now I believe I'm going to go ahead and attach the glue here and the 2 screws that I just pre-drilled so that I can go ahead and get it all attached and then pre-drill and screw the rest of it once it's into place. Now I'm going to make a triangular piece to go up under the shelf for support. I have measured out by holding it up to the plate there, and I'm just going to draw a line, and that's the triangle piece that I need. So I'm going to cut that out with the miter saw. I had a slight miscalculation. The holes here for the specialty tools are going to be in the way no matter where I put it, put this triangular piece. So I've just decided to put it here and then just drill back through this again, and hopefully that will allow that tool to slip in there. It doesn't need much space down in there anyway, so we'll go ahead and get this glued up and then use some more screws, and then it'll be time to move on to the dowels. I'm going to put screws in both the top and the back to make sure this thing is really well held in here, because it will be really important to have this as a support piece. Now it's time to cut out a whole bunch of dowel pieces. I've got my sample piece here that I'm using, and I'm just going to come along here and make a mark. And I was looking at my options for cutting these. Since I don't have a bandsaw, I think I'm just going to use the miter saw to cut these pieces. It's going to take a little bit since I need a whole bunch of them. So I'm going to just touch up the edges of this real quick with some sandpaper, and then just going to plop a dab of glue into one of these holes. Shouldn't take but a small bit there. And I'm just going to twist that around till it gets nice and coated, and I'm going to keep doing that with all of these until they're done. So I'll be back in a moment when I have taken care of all of these 90 plus dowels. Well, I have all of the big pegs installed. Some of them aren't quite the same height, but that's okay. And I have the front row of small pegs in, and I ran out for the ones back here. So I'm gonna have to get some more. But I want to hang my wrenches from up under here. And to do that, I have thought of a plan. All of them have a closed end, such as this right here. And so I'm going to hang them from that. And I checked, and even these tiny wrenches here will fit on a 1/4 inch bolt. So what I'm going to do is cut a board that fits from here to here, and that way all of those can hang on a bolt up under here. Having a bandsaw would be really great, but I don't have one. I'm finding that using my jigsaw is actually working out pretty decent. So I'm just matching up the line that I've drawn and just chopping it real quick, and it moves along pretty fast. This project has been time consuming, but it seems to be turning out well so far. Now I have realized that when I get these pegs in here, some of them need a little help from the adjustment tool. So I kind of get them in the right spot, and then I adjust them in there. And some of them, like that one, just go right where they're supposed to. But once that glue sets in, there will be no issues at all with them staying down. Now, finally, all of the pegs are done. It's time to hang the board that is going to hold the wrenches. So I've got this piece of scrap here, and this is going to go underneath, and I'm going to have all of these small 2-inch screws here, and that's going to be poking through for an attachment for all of those wrenches. So I need to cut this to the size that I need. Looks like 17 and 7/8 is the size that I need for this board. Okay, I have this piece cut, and it fits in here very snug, which is exactly what I was looking for. Now it's time to cut, or to drill some really small holes in here for these to fit through. I believe I'm going to come in 2 inches here and make my first mark there, and then do every inch after that. Now that I have the holes in here, I'm going to feed one of these screws from the back side, and then just get these attached here. And I figured I might as well just tighten it up just a little bit. And now it's just a matter of filling all the rest of these in, and that's where these wrenches will hang. I'm going to angle this slightly up so that when the wrenches are on, they're not going to be falling off. Now I need to pre-drill my 2 holes in here. I'll go ahead and get the first one sunk in to keep this from moving around. Okay, now that might hold it, but I'm going to go ahead and put one more right above that on each side so that it's locked into place. Okay, finally it's done. Time to go ahead and get this thing loaded up. Let me show you a close-up before we do that though. Have the extension holes and the holes for the actual socket wrenches, and then all the sockets, and then down here is where we installed that wrench holder, so should be really nice. Now let's go ahead and load this thing up. Okay, I think I'm going to be putting the smaller stuff in the front and the bigger stuff towards the back, like that. Got some extensions here. Wouldn't it be sad if I miscounted and didn't have enough of the pegs? I guess I'd have to come back and redo it. Now I could always rearrange this stuff later if need be, as far as like where wrenches go and all that good stuff, but I think for now it's going to do really well. Now I know this case is pretty nice, and I may have considered leaving them in here, except it is so difficult to get one out. Oftentimes I have to use a screwdriver and find some way prying them out of here, and it can be a real pain. Some of them I've used enough that it's loose, like that one, but some of these I'm going to have to really work to get them out of here. Apparently I did a terrible job at measuring the socket size, because there's no way those two are ever going to go together, so I'm having to skip over some of my pegs, which is sad. I'd kind of planned out back here for these larger sizes, but then I didn't realize that you've got like a size 24 next to a 1-inch, so metric and standard are mixed up there. So I think what I'm going to do is just put a few more maybe up here really close to the front, and that will help just finish out those sockets. So not as nice as I was hoping, but it's still going to do the job. Also, I did not take into account these adjustment pieces that can turn to like a 45. So I think I'm just going to drill some holes down here in the front and just call that good as well. And the socket set holder is complete. Definitely goofed up on some of this. I must have had low blood sugar and thought, oh sure, those two will fit, so everything else will. Obviously, if you're going to try and fit something like that next to each other, definitely not going to happen. So I guess in the later stages of this build, I had thought about the different sizes with like these. I gave them lots of good space in there to fit, but oh well. I am also missing a 1/2 inch. I guess it'd go right in here. I may have to buy that, but it's doing well. I just put holes in here for these angled pieces, and let's see, this one was different. It's just that adapter from 1/2 inch to I guess 3/8 or whatever it is. And then down here, this turned out well. Able to get those wrenches all lined up. I'm not sure why, but this set came with 2 8s. So it goes 6, 8, 8, 12. It's missing the 10. So I may buy a 10 and take out that other 8 there. But one thing is for sure, this is a lot easier to get out than using that gray box that these came with. So that's the main thing I was trying to achieve. Well, that was fun and yet not fun, but I'm glad it's finished now. I wanted to see how heavy this was to move around, so I'm gonna just try and move it up one and see what happens. It's definitely heavy, but it's not impossible. So I'll definitely find the place that I want this and move it around later on, but oh. Cool. Well, so my advice is measure better than I did whenever you're putting these bigger pieces in here. Don't just make them all the same way across. Now, as soon as it got to here at like 7/16, it fit well on there, but oh well. I'm happy this is done. I hope you have enjoyed watching this build. If you've got some great suggestions, please write those in the comments below. And this is probably one of those tool holders that I will remake in the future now that I have messed up so bad. But for now, this is going to do just fine. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.